हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी गुड इवनिंग। आई होप आई आर फिट एंड फाइन। इस वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करेंगे सीसैट 2022 में जो आपको कॉम्प्रिहेंशन पूछा गया था यूपीएससी सिविल सर्विसेज में। ये हमारे लास्ट वीडियो में ऑलरेडी हमने 2011 से 2021 तक को डिस्कस कर लिया। आप जाकर प्लेलिस्ट में चेकआउट कर सकते हैं। स्टार्ट करते हैं इसे। क्वेश्चन नंबर 305। द मेन थ्रेट टू मेंटेनिंग प्रोग्रेस इन ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट कम्स फ्रॉम, कहां से आ रही है? इंक्रीजिंगली एविडेंट अनसस्टेनेबिलिटी ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, की प्रोडक्शन अनसस्टेनेबल हो रहा है। ठीक, अनसस्टेनेबल कंजप्शन पैटर्न भी अनसस्टेनेबल है। करंट प्रोडक्शन मॉडल रिलाई हैवीली किस पे कर रहे हैं? बहुत ज्यादा आपके फॉसिल फ्यूल्स पे। वी नाउ नो दैट दिस इज अनसस्टेनेबल बिकॉज द रिसोर्स आर फाइनाइट। The close link between the economic growth and greenhouse gas emission need to be served for human development to become truly sustainable. Some developed country have begun to alleviate the roast effect by expanding recycle कर रहे हैं, invest कर रहे हैं public transport infrastructure. But most developing countries are hampered by the high cost and low availability of clean energy sources. Developed country need to support developing countries को support करना चाहिए developed को and transition to sustainable human development. क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है अनसस्टेनेबिलिटी इन प्रोडक्शन पैटर्न इज ड्यू टू, इसकी वजह से है हैवी डिपेंडेंस ऑफ फॉसिल फ्यूल्स, मेंशन कर रखा है, एंड लिमिटेड अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज गैस एंड एक्सपेंशन ऑफ रिसाइकलिंग। रिसाइकल हम इतना नहीं कर रहे, ठीक है। तो फर्स्ट का एक रिसाइकल तो हमें करने का, रिसाइकल कहां पर हो रहा था? डेवलप्ड के अंदर। कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट, डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज कैन सपोर्ट डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज ट्रांजिशन टू सस्टेनेबल ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट। कैसे कर सकते हैं? फर्स्ट आप ये देखो, यहाँ पे इन्होंने पूछा क्या है, स्टेटमेंट गिवन करेक्ट, ठीक है सर। मेकिंग क्लीन एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल एट लो कॉस्ट, यस, वहां पर उनके लो कॉस्ट नहीं थी। प्रोवाइड लोन फॉर इंप्रूवमेंट देयर पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट एट नॉमिनल इंटरेस्ट रेट, वी डोंट नो। एनकरेजिंग देम टू चेंज देयर प्रोडक्शन एंड कंजप्शन पैटर्न, वहां पे तो उनके पास कॉस्ट ज्यादा थी, सो वी कैन से ओनली कॉस्ट, या फिर इन दिस आंसर की इन्होंने बता रखा है 2 and 3। According to the passage, the developing countries are hampered by the high cost and low availability of the clean energy. Making clean energy a process low cost. पैसेज आइडेंटिफाई रिसाइकलिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट इन पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट, इसमें कर सकते हो। मेकिंग क्लीन एनर्जी अवेलेबल एट लो कॉस्ट, द पैसेज नाउ इंडिकेट दैट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज कैन हेल्प इन डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज मेक क्लीन एनर्जी सोर्सेज। पर इन्होंने ये बोला कहीं पे मेंशन नहीं है, ठीक है। एंड क्लीन सोर्सेज दूसरा है एनकरेजिंग देम प्रोडक्शन, ठीक। एक बार अभी के लिए ये मान लो, एंड ऑफिशियल आंसर की जब दिया है तो आप प्लीज एक बार इसको क्रॉस चेक जरूर कर लेना, क्योंकि ये बुक के आंसर की। नेक्स्ट, अनलेस द फोर्सेज एंड टेंडेंसी विच आर रेस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर डिस्ट्रॉइंग द कंट्रीज एनवायरमेंट आर चेक्ड इन द नियर फ्यूचर एंड एफोरेस्टेशन ऑफ renewed areas is taken up on a massive scale, the harness of climatic condition and soil erosion by wind and water will increase to such an extent that agriculture, which is mainstay हमारे लोगों का, will gradually become impossible हो जाएगी। The desert countries of the world and our own desert area in Rajasthan are a grim reminder में कि consequence क्या हो सकते हैं large scale deforestation करने के। Pockets of desert like landscape are now appearing in other part of the country, including सतलज गंगा प्लेन आपका सतलुज में है, तो आपका प्लेन एरिया है नॉर्थ में, डेक्कन प्लेटू। पर only a few decades back, lush green forest with perennial streams and only now brown earth, bare of vegetation without any water in the stream, spring except in the rainy season। तो यहाँ पे किस बात के बारे में बात की देखते हैं। डिफोरेस्टेशन अल्टीमेटली लीड टू क्या हो सकता है? डिप्लीशन हो सकता है सोइल रिसोर्सेज का, शॉर्टेज हो सकती है लैंड की फॉर कॉमन मैन, लैक ऑफ वाटर फॉर कल्टीवेशन, तो वाटर तो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे होगा। डिप्लीशन भी हो रहा है सोइल रिसोर्सेज को काइंड ऑफ। अगेन यहाँ पे शॉर्टेज कॉमन मैन के लिए नहीं बता रखी, तो ऑप्शन 1 and C। नेक्स्ट, इन सिंपल मैटर लाइक शू मेकिंग, जूते बनाने में, we think only special trained person will serve our purpose, but in politics we presume that everyone who knows how to get votes know how to administer a state. Where we are ill, we call for a trained physician. और डिग्री इज ए गारंटी ऑफ स्पेसिफिक प्रिपरेशन एंड टेक्निकल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज की बात करती है इनकॉम्पिटेंसी. We do not ask for the enjoyment, handsomest physician or the most eloquent one when that whole subject, sorry, whole state is ill. Should we no not look for the services and guidance for the wisest and best? कि उसके लिए हमें नहीं करना चाहिए. तो क्या रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है? We assume that a democratic politician is qualified to administer a state. Politicians should be selected from trained administration. We need to devise a method of bearing incompetence from public office. As a voter select their administrator, the eligibility of politician shall not be questioned. इससे हम कौन से assumption बना सकते हैं? फिर क्या रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है? So this given that we need to devise a method of bearing incompetence from public office. Next, the poverty line is quite unsatisfactory when it comes to grasping the extent of poverty in India. It is not only because of its extremely narrow definition that who is poor and debatable methodology used to count the poor, but also because more fundamental assumption आपकी underlining it exclusively relies on the notion of poverty as insufficient income or insufficient purchasing power. कौन सा है? One can better categorize it by calling it income poverty. The poverty is ultimately about deprivation affecting human well-being. Then income poverty is only one aspect of it. Poverty of life, in our views, lies not merely the impoverished state in which the person actually lives, but also in the lack of real opportunity given by the social constraint as well as personal circumstance. This was other type of living. Is the relevance of low income, mere possession and other aspect of what was standardly seen as economic poverty relate ultimately to their role in curtailing capabilities. Their role in severely restricting to choice, people have to lead variable and valued lives. So which of the following methodology adopted in India to count the poverty? Debatable. Confusion regarding what should constitute the poverty line. Yes, there are should wide diverging conditions that rural urban area. There is no uniform global statement for measuring poverty. There is a proposition of a poverty as a measure of income buying capacity. इंडिया में हमने बात की है. So we can say this passage of author claim that a methodology to count poor adopted in India is debatable. है. The reason is narrow definition of poor. Poverty is defined as insufficient income and insufficient purchasing poverty. This is income poverty, which is only one aspect of poverty. This idea is expressed that option D is correct response. Only you can get the correct answer that you are confident about. There is no need to see other options. Proposition K. Next, why is the income poverty only one measure of counting the poor? It talks only one kind of depravity, ignore all the others. Other deprivation in human life have nothing to do. Income poverty is not a permanent condition, it changes from time to time. Income poverty restricts human choice only at a point of time. The right answer is it talks only one kind of deprivation, ignore कर रहा है बाकी. Next, poverty of life से author ने क्या कहने की कोशिश की? Poverty of life in our views lies not merely improvised state of in which the person actually lies, but lack of real opportunity given by the social constraint. All deprivation in a human life, which is not only from the lack of income but real opportunity. Yes, impoverished state of the poor in the rural urban areas, missed opportunity in diversion, personal circumstances, non-material deprivation. Option first है directly mention है ये आपको देखना है. Next, in some places of the world, productivity of staples such as rice and wheat had reached equilibrium. Neither new strains nor fancy agrochemicals yield नहीं बढ़ा रही, nor is there much unfarmed land that is suitable to grow under the poor. और भी हमारे पास land भी नहीं है. And if the global temperature continue to rise, अगर ऐसे ही बढ़ता रहा, some places will become unsuitable हो जाएंगे. Application of technology can help overcome these तो कुछ टेक्नोलॉजी से हम इसका कुछ कर सकते हैं। एग्रीकल्चर टेक्नोलॉजी चेंजिंग फास्ट, बदल रही है। मच ऑफ दिस चेंज इज ब्रॉडली अबाउट बाय एफ्लुएंट फार्मर इन द वेस्ट अमेरिका। टेक्निक डेवलप्ड इन द वेस्ट आर बीइंग अडॉप्टेड इन सम प्लेस टू मेक ट्रॉपिकल क्रॉप्स को और प्रोडक्टिव बनाने की बात करेंगे। टेक्नोलॉजी इज लिटिल यूज इफ इट इज नॉट अडॉप्टेड इन द डेवलपिंग वर्ल्ड्स दैट अप्लाइज इज much of existing farming in the developing technique as it is does the latest advance in genetic modification extending to smallholders and subsistence farmer of Africa and Asia. The best of today's agricultural practice in such simple matter as how much fertilizer to apply and when would lead to greatly increase the availability of food and humanity for in सबके लिए. So would you think that better roads and storage facility to allow the carriage of surplus to market reduce the wastage? बेटर रोडिंग से भी हो सकता है, चलो देखते हैं कौन से एजम्पशन हो सकते हैं. डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर टेक्नोलॉजी इज कन्फाइंड टू डेवलप्ड कंट्री ओनली. एग्रीकल्चर टेक्नोलॉजी नॉट अडेप्टेड, अडेप्ट नहीं कर रहे सबका. राइट आंसर इज दोनों ही गलत है, ऐसा कोई भी यहाँ पर डिस्कशन नहीं कर रखा ये टेक्नोलॉजी वहां पे नहीं, वहां पे नहीं करी. Based on the above passage, following assumption as given. Poor countries need to bring about change in their existing farming technique. Developed countries have better infrastructure and waste less food. ऐसा है. Yes, both are correct. Based on the above passage, following assumption कौन सी हो सकती है? Growing enough food for future generation will be a challenge. We can say corporate farming is a viable option for food security in the poor. Again, corporate farming exactly हम नहीं बता सकते तो option A. A. Next, natural selection cannot anticipate future environment on the earth. Therefore, the set of existing organisms can never be fully prepared for environmental catastrophes that await lives. An outcome of this is the extinction of those species which cannot overcome environmental adversity. This failure is to survive in modern terms can be attributed to the genomes which are unable to withstand geological vagaries or biological mishaps, infection, disease, and so on. Biological evolution on the Earth. Extinction of species has been a major feature. Now, Earth may be presently have to be 10 million species, yet more than 90% of species had ever lived on the Earth and at the extent of speaking. Once again, the creationist doctrines fails to satisfactorily address why the divine creator will firstly bother to create millions of species that allow them to perish. डार्विनियन ने एक्सप्लेन किया था कि एक्सटिंक्ट लाइफ इज वंस अगेन सिंपल, एलिगेंट एंड वंस कन्विंसिंग ऑर्गेनिज्म go extinct as a function of environmental or biological assault for which they are inheritance deems that it ill-equipped. Therefore, so-called Darwinian theory of evolution, not theory at all. Evolution happens. This is a fact. The mechanism of evolution proposed इन्होंने क्या था नेचुरल सिलेक्शन को is amply support करा साइंटिफिक डाटा के द्वारा. Indeed, to date, no single zoological, botanical, geological इन सब के बारे में evidence has refuted either the standard two main Darwinian ideas. If religion is not taken into consideration, Darwinian those are acceptable just like the law proposed by Copernicus, Galileo, Einstein's set of rules, natural phenomena in the universe. According to the passage, natural selection cannot participate future environment on Earth as species are not fully prepared to face the environmental space change. Them will face extinction. All the existing species would get extinct as their genomes will not withstand biological mishaps. Inability of the genome to withstand environmental change would result in extinction. Extinction of species is a common feature. Which one is correct? All existing species को नहीं ले रखा option C यहाँ पे correct होता रखा रहेगा. The passage suggests that the Darwinian theory of evolution is not a theory at all. It does not satisfy the creationist doctrine. Extinction of a human is biological assault है. There is no evidence of refute it. Extinction of the organism attributed to a creator. Extinction function is biological and assault. इसके बारे में स्टार्टिंग में बात की थी. Biological mishaps. Next, with the reference of the passage, following assumptions have been made. Only species that have been ability to overcome environmental catastrophe will survive. Yes, 19% of the human species are in the danger and getting extinct due to drastic change of the human environment. What we can assume, only age. 90%, more than 90% of Earth are in danger and getting extinct due to drastic change in the environment. Yet more than 90% of the species have been lived are now extinct. This statement is about the past. In steady economic growth, higher literacy and increasing skill levels, the number of Indian middle class family has gone up exponentially. Direct result of the affluence has been change in the dietary patterns and energy consumption level. People have moved to a higher protein-based diet like milk product, fish meal, need significantly more water to produce than cereal-based diet. Increasing use of electronic and electrical machine gadget and motor vehicles need more and more energy. And generation of energy needs a water. Drugs क्या people should have persuaded to continue with the mainly additional traditional ठीक है या traditional cereals की तरफ आए. India needs to focus on developing agriculture productivity and capacity of more generation and coming in. ठीक है modern technology dive within the change of culture and social behavior. Water management practice in India need to be changed dramatically. The coming years. Right now, modern technology development, the result change of natural, the cultural and social behavior of people. Because change. Next, for 2 or 3 generations past, ever increasing number of individuals have been living as a workers, merely not as human beings. An excessive amount of labor is ruled today in every circle of society, with the result that man's spiritual element cannot thrive. We find it is very difficult to spend his little leisure in serious activities. He does not want to think, or he cannot even if he wants. He seeks not self-improvement, but entertainment, which would enable him to be mentally idle and forget his usual activities. Therefore, so-called culture of our age is dependent more in the cinemas than on theatre, more on newspaper magazines and crime stories than on serious literature. This guide किसके ऊपर है? Men should not work hard, overstrain. Yes, we can say. Man cannot think well, he cannot spiritual welfare. Option B आपका ठीक है, overstrain prevention. Man does not seek improvement because what is the reason? He is not intellectually capable, no time नहीं, distracted by materialism, love amusement and mentally idle. Can say. Really recommend does not seek for self improvement because the regular sentence passage is seeks not self improvement. Next passage, demographic dividend which has begun in India and is expected to last another few decades. Is great window of opportunity हमारे लिए. The demographic dividend is basically swelling in the working age population, which conversely means that the relative ratio of every young and very old will for a while be on the decline. Okay. From the experience of Ireland and China, we know that this can be a source of energy and engine of economic growth in this world. The demographic dividend tend to raise a nation's saving बढ़ाएगा. Okay. In the working any population that is the main saver and since the saving rate of important driver है growth के लिए this would help करेगा कि हम growth ज़्यादा करें. However, benefit of demographic dividend depend करता है equality of working age population के ऊपर भी and this simple bringing back the importance of education in सबको लेके आए. So which one of the following would invariably happen in the country when demographic dividend has begun to operate? Number of illiterate people will decrease. Yes, ratio of very old and very young folk will decrease for a while. Population growth rate may be quickly stabilized. तो कैसे हो गया? आंसर गिवन बाय इज बी ओनली because ये क्लिक कंटेक्स्ट में थर्ड को काट दिया तो ऑप्शन बी. With reference to the passage, inference, demographic dividend is essential condition for a country's rapidly increasing economic growth rate. Yes, promotion of higher education is an essential condition है rapid economic growth के लिए. We can say बोथ आर करेक्ट। ऐसा नहीं कि एसेंशियल बोल दिया तो काट दिया, आपको वैसे ही पता है demographic difference. In an economic organization, allowed mankind to benefit by the productivity of machines should lead to a very good life of leisure, and much leisure is apt and to be tedious except to those which have to be intelligent activities and interest. If a leisured population is to be happy, it must be an educated population and must be educated with the view of enjoyment as well as direct usefulness, technical knowledge होना चाहिए. The best reflect कौन सा कराएगा? Only educated can take the use of whole economic development should aim an increase in the educated person of the country lead to increase. Yes, we can say use of machines should be encouraged. मशीन से खुशी मिलेगी. Only educated person can make the benefit of economic. If present brings less thrills, now that we grown up, perhaps it is because we have too much already, or perhaps it because we have lost the fullness of the joy of giving, and it fullness the joy of receiving. Children's fear are poignant, their mercies are acute, but they do not look too forward, nor they too backward. They, their joy are real and complete because they have not yet learned. Always to add but a few, sorry, but every proposition. Perhaps we are too conscious, too anxious, skeptical, and perhaps some of our cares would shrink if we thought less about them and entered with more single-minded enjoyment into the happiness that comes our way. With reference, कौन सा हो सकता है? It is not possible to adult feel thrilled by the present day. There can be more than one reason why. Yes, we can say. The author does not know why that कैसा हो रहा है. Adult less feel capable to feel the joy, loving or being loved. Again, option. कौन सा आंसर है? ये more than one reason हो सकते हैं. Next, the author passage is against किसके against में? It was against receiving joy only partially. The majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are generally easily influenced by the opinion of others. ठीक है? They permit the newspaper and gossiping neighbor to do their thinking for them. Opinion are cheapest commodities है इसके ऊपर. Everyone has a flock of opinions ready to be wished upon by anyone who will accept them. If you influence by opinions, then when you reach decisions, you will not succeed in any undertaking. The best imply कौन सा इसके अंदर? Most of the people do not accumulate money for their needs. Never fail to accumulating. There are people who fail to accumulate money for their needs. There is no need to accumulate money. There are people who fail to accumulate money for their needs. Main idea कौन सा है चीज का? People should not be influenced by the opinion of others. Yes. There should be accumulate as much money as they can. People neither accept them. Not take option A. The social order is scared right, which is basis है all other right का. Nevertheless, this right does not come from the nature and must therefore founded on the conventions. So with reference to passage, which of the following statements are correct? Convention are forcing of human right of humans का. Right of man can be exercised only when there is a social order. A sacred right है basis है सभी का, तो we can say kind of 328 both. To encourage research is one of the function है university. Contemporary university encourage research को बढ़ाया था. Not only in those cases which are necessary thing, but on all sort of entirely unprofitable subject के ऊपर भी. Scientific research is probably never completely valueless नहीं हो सकता कभी भी, and however silly and insignificant it may seem, however mechanical and unintelligent of labor and researcher, there is always a chance that result may be value of the investigator of a talent who can use the fact collected by him or uninspired by the industrious research and basis of some fruitful generalization. But where research is not original but consists in the mere rearrangement of existing materials, where its object is not साइंटिफिक बट लिटरेरी और हिस्टोरिकल, देयर कैन बी रिस्क हो सकता है होल बिजनेस का। साइंटिफिक रिसर्च इज दैट, क्या जम्पशन है, नेवर वेरी वैल्यूएबल, समटाइम्स वेरी, यस इट इज ऑलवेज वेरी वेरी वैल्यूएबल, हम बोल सकते हैं इसको। ठीक है, आई होप इन्होंने लिया है। इट इज नेवर विदाउट सम वैल्यूज। ओके ठीक है, इसलिए इसमें बिकॉज हमने बोल दिया था कि ये कभी वैल्यूलेस नहीं हो सकती। ठीक है, नेवर कंप्लीटली वैल्यूलेस, तो इसी टाइप से आपको देखा। अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑथर, नॉट मैनी रिसर्च आर द वैल्यू ऑफ इंटेलिजेंट इन रिसर्च ऑलवेज वैल्यूएबल है एंड इंटेलिजेंट का एनी रिसर्च रिजल्ट कैन बी वैल्यू हो सकती है इंटेलिजेंट इन्वेस्टिगेटर का, कौन सा इसमें सही है। Again, research result is always valuable of an intelligent investor. Now, last passage. How best can the problems of flood and drought be addressed so that losses को हम minimize कर सकें, system become resilient हो सके? In this context, one important point क्या है? To be noted is that India gets too much water, 75% of annual precipitation during 120 days, June से इस time तक. Too little for the remaining 245. This skewed water availability has to be managed करना चाहिए, regulate करना चाहिए consumption को throughout the year. सबसे important कौन सा हो सकता है इसमें? Construction huge storage canals across the country. यार इससे आप कैसे इसको यूज करें, जो देखते हैं चेंजिंग द क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न, इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर अक्रॉस द कंट्री, वी कैन सी बफर स्टॉकिंग ऑफ द वाटर डैम्स एंड रिचार्जिंग एक्वीफाई, बफर स्टॉकिंग, यूज कॉन्क्रीट, इंटरलिंकिंग वाला थोड़ा सा नॉर्मल सा लग रहा है, एंड आंसर इज गिविंग इज ऑप्शन नंबर डी। अकॉर्डिंग टू देम द क्वेश्चन इज आइडेंटिफाई प्रैक्टिकल रेशनल, इसको बता रहा है 75 में, ये है दिस करेक्ट इज बफर स्टॉकिंग करना चाहिए डैम्स का। दैट इज क्योंकि उसको ही हम बाद में यूज करते हैं, देखते हैं। तो दैट्स ऑल, हमने 2011 से लेके 22 तक की पैसेज डिस्कस कर ली हैं, एंड आई जस्ट वांट टू से कि आप बस उन्होंने किस हिसाब से आंसर को दे रखा है, 2022 वाले को चलो छोड़ दो एक बार, लेकिन 2021 तक आपने देख लिया होगा यूपीएससी किस हिसाब से आंसर को ले रही है, उसी हिसाब से अटेम्प्ट करने की कोशिश करो। तो दैट्स ऑल, थैंक यू, नाइस डे।